Hi guys, this is the first slide for the lecture. And in this slide, all I want to do is congratulate you for making it to the last lecture. Going forward, I'm going to talk about our timeline, but this is the last time you'll take these quizzes, the last time you'll have to hear me talk about consumer behavior and make corny jokes, that kind of thing. So congratulations and good luck going forward. So this slide shows our timeline. So this week we'll have lecture 9 and again, our last lecture. Next week we'll have Thanksgiving, so we won't meet. I know that technically we are able to meet, but I just think that people should get the whole week off for Thanksgiving, honestly. So you'll be getting the whole week off. And then the week after that, we'll have our project work day, which means that this is the day that you really should set aside to work on the third assignment, and we won't have a lecture for this day. Moving forward, on the 5th of December, we will have exam 3 and our final lecture quiz will be due. One of the things I want to remind you is that in this class, I do drop the lowest assignment grade. So if you walk into 12.5 and you're happy with your grade and you don't want to take the exam, that's, your business. What I ask that you do though is just shoot me an email saying, Dr. Davis, I don't want to take this exam. Thanks so much, that kind of thing, just so that I know who's going to take it and who isn't. I have had students in a variety of different grade schemes make the decision not to take the third exam. Typically, students, if you get, two D's or two F's or a D and an F on an exam, on your exams, you usually are going to want to go ahead and take that exam. We haven't really had too many people in that category in this class, but I say that because I've also had students who have gotten C's on both exams and said, I think my assignment grades will pull me up to a B. I've had students who have gotten B's on the exam and said, I don't want to take the third exam. I'd rather take the B so that I can study for other classes. And then, of course, I have students who have A's on their exams and just say, listen, I don't really want to take that exam, so I'm just not. There's no judgment here. If you send me an email and you say you don't want to take the exam, I'm perfectly okay with that. Again, no judgment. You get to make the best decision for yourself, and I trust you to do that. And then, last but not least, on the 11th of December, your final project is, or your final assignment is due. It's assignment 3. Again, if you have any questions about this assignment, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Thanks.
I ended last week's class talking about social media and digital marketing. I will be doing the same thing. The same thing. I will be picking up where I left off, discussing the same topic, and then the rest of the lecture, this is probably about an hour. The rest of the lecture will focus on the self and then also on diffusion, both two very interesting topics. I give about an hour to each one of these topics. So um, let's get started. So, I'd like to talk about some keys to success with social media marketing. These aren't exhaustive, meaning that this isn't every key to success that you will need to know, but here are a few that should help you as you kind of think about social media marketing and content marketing. One of the first things to remember is that social media isn't free. So the tools that you use for social media may be free. If Facebook or Instagram, so on and so forth, you can get an account for free, sure. But if you actually want to create some consequences, some positive outcomes for your brand, for your company, so on and so forth, this is not free. You need to dedicate money and investment into strategy. What's your marketing strategy? And how does your social media strategy fall in line with your marketing strategy, right? They should be two sides of the same coin. You need to invest in training both yourself and others on your team to understand kind of social media strategy, to understand how to input that into your kind of overall strategy, to understand how to do content marketing, to understand kind of what consumers want, right? When it comes to a social media strategy. You need to have some content creation, and that might mean third-party companies helping you out with that, or you hiring in-house people to do it. Content creation is very important, right? You need to be able to tell a story. You need to create brand awareness. You need to do all of these things with the content that you put out. And so you want to make sure that the content that you put out is effective and that it's efficient for your audience. You want to know how to integrate social media tools, right? So we could talk about measurement in terms of monitoring social media information, monitoring social media feedback, click rates, so on and so forth. You need to know how to integrate those tools and kind of the measurement tools specifically into your current strategy, into your business, into your deck. Heck, being able to get in front of your employer and say, we had a click through rate of XYZ. This is how much our pay to click was. You need to be able to integrate those tools. And for a lot of people, that does mean more training. And there are tons of companies that can do this for you. If you go through Facebook and use it to advertise, they have this whole suite of tools that they can show you, or data that you can analyze for your marketing campaign. You need to understand relationship management. Oftentimes, that also requires more man hours, if not more people. And so, understanding how to manage your relationships that are digital, right? So, you're expanding from just kind of this relationship management where you're dealing with customers face to face. Now you're dealing with customers digitally. You're dealing with customers in a lot of different ways, right? You're dealing with happy customers, you're dealing with upset customers, and you need to figure out how you can address these different groups. And that won't be free, right? And then last but not least, I said that there was a lot of software that will allow you and help you measure the effectiveness of your social media marketing. That is true, but you need to know how to use those tools. You need to figure out what tools are going to be best for you and your business, so on and so forth. That also will cost money. When we look to see, I thought this was really interesting on the right hand side. So the 2021 marketing budget allocation across marketing programs and operational areas, most, a good chunk of the money, I won't say most, excuse me, but a good chunk of the money, 12%, the highest concentration of budget allocation goes to digital commerce. So being able to spend money collecting money, right? So whether that's, PayPal, whether that's, Apple Pay, whether that's, Visa Pay, however it works, we see a lot of money, or a good chunk of the budget being allocated to brand strategy, to marketing analytics, to consumer insights, to content creation. Roughly about 9% of marketing budgets right now are being allocated to content creation. Um, Demand generation, how do you create demand, loyalty programs, so on and so forth. The reason I put this up here is that you notice that what you don't see is you don't see companies or this allocation say digital marketing. Of course not. It's because digital marketing should at this point be in every single one of these allocations, right? So digital marketing should be somewhere in brand strategy. You should have a digital strategy for your brand. Marketing analytics, you're going to want to make sure part of your analytics is also understanding social media marketing and the analytics you need there. Customer insights, hopefully you're also using social media to comb through and data mine for customer insights. So again, over and over and over again, digital marketing isn't its own budget allocation. It, however, should be a part of all of these other budget allocations, right? That's how important digital marketing should be. It should not be considered kind of this afterthought. It should be an integral part of your marketing plan and your marketing kind of activities. We usually think of digital marketing media in terms of three types of media: earned, owned, and paid. So, earned media is publicity or exposure that you gain from methods other than paid advertising. It tends to be promotion of your product or your brand or your company through organic means, right? So it's very effective, which makes sense. It usually has something to do with word of mouth, people liking you, people sharing information about you, retweets, reviews. It can be, it can be hard to get, but it is very effective because what you're seeing is it allows you to see or achieve someone else organically speaking about you, someone else giving positive thoughts, someone else backing you on your product or your brand or your company, so on and so forth, right? So it's this much more kind of loose, but kind of powerful impact that you can get with kind of word of mouth, right? Own media is media that you specifically own. It could be your website, your mobile site, your blog, so on and so forth. And then paid advertising or paid media, display ads, paid influencers, paid content, whatever you're actually paying for and using a third party with. Those are the three types of media we typically think about when we're thinking about media. One thing to continue to think about if you're interested in digital marketing, interested in social media marketing, is how do you continuously kind of achieve positive word of mouth? How do you continuously receive kind of shares, likes, mentions, so on and so forth? How do you keep your company on the minds of consumers in a positive way? Okay, so retargeting is a process, right? So you have a potential customer, they visit your website, great, but then they leave without contacting you or connecting with you or buying anything. Less great. Um, this potential customer then surfs the web, right? So, they're on DSW for shoes. They go on to the DSW website. They see shoes. They even put some shoes in their cart, but then they leave without buying. Hmm, not great. So later, that same customer, even though they've, stopped looking at DSW's website, they start browsing the web. And as they browse the web, they see ads for DSW. And they might even, if it's specific enough, see ads for the shoes that they left in the cart. This is what they mean by retargeting, right? Retargeting is when you essentially follow a customer. You make sure that your company, your brand, your product follows that customer as they continue as they continue surfing the web. The goal is that your ads should recapture their interest. It should bring them back to your website, and then turn them into a new client because they will then engage with you, whether that's buying your product, whether that's leaving a comment, whether that's whatever. What we find is that retargeting can be very effective. Know this though, I started out saying it's like stalking. And I say this because it's like stalking, right? So these companies, they are able to follow you because you've accepted cookies from their website, which means that they've been able to follow you. And so you saw DSW and you were fine with leaving your cart there. You were like, I don't even really need these shoes. But then you decide to go look at, MMA fighting, and next thing you know, well, you're looking at a 2-minute video posted on TikTok of MMA fighting, you see an ad to the side that says DSW, your card called, it wants you back. And that is frightening if you think about it. A lot of people don't think about it. And in fact, a lot of people actually like retargeting. A lot of customers say that they like being able to kind of be reminded of the fact that they didn't buy something or that a company is still interested in their business. I did not post the information on this slide or in this particular slide deck, but when you look at retargeting and when you ask companies where they're planning to spend the bulk of their advertising dollars, a lot of them will say they're spending the bulk of their advertising dollars in retargeting ads. Usually, well over 50% of companies will say we're going to spend the bulk of our advertising dollars on retargeting ads. Um, so why would they do that? Well, you get stronger conversions, right? So retargeting makes it 70% likely to convert visitors into paying customers. That's really good, 70%. Retargeting can result in a 147% increase in average conversion rates, right? Um, Retargeting has been found to increase your branded search results by at least 500%, right? So if I mean that's amazing. And it can increase the overall number of visitors and the ad exposures that your company gets by up to 700%. That's again, that's amazing. Retargeting can be pretty effective. Another key to success is to remember that social media isn't just about Twitter and Facebook. I'm sure you already know this, and you're probably thinking to yourself, of course not, Professor Davis. It's also about TikTok and Instagram. Which it is, but we don't want to stop ourselves by saying that social media is just about these specific companies. So another kind of app that is becoming more popular is the app Be Real. I was actually invited to join a Be Real group, and I was like, I don't understand the point of it. Kind of because I don't understand the point of it. Anyway, so the whole point of Be Real is that it's supposed to allow consumers to show show their more authentic self. And the way that it does this is that it Be Real reaches out to you and your friend group at various times throughout the day, and you have 2 minutes to respond. And you essentially take a picture of you within those 2 minutes. I think you get 2 minutes to respond. I think so. You take a picture of yourself, you kind of talk about what you're doing and what your life is like. So you're not seeing these uber curated displays of who that person is, like you might see on Twitter, right? We've or even Instagram. We've seen these images of people who are like at a store looking at something, and they're, you know, perfecting what they look like in the mirror, and they're, making sure that they're wearing their favorite outfits or their best outfits or the most name brand outfits that they own. It's just very curated, right? It's not really who they are at any point in time. Whereas Be Real is supposed to take that away because it doesn't give you any notice of when it's going to ask you to post a picture of yourself and post a picture of what you're doing. So this is kind of interesting. But from my understanding, you're normally in a Be Real group, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it's supposed to allow people to be more authentic, and the app is growing quite a bit, which goes back to my whole don't assume that social media is just Facebook or Twitter. Remember, there are constant shifts. So yes, Facebook is huge. Is anybody about to beat Facebook? Is any company about to beat Facebook anytime soon? Probably not. Facebook has billions of followers, but we do know that there are new apps being thought of, there are new apps being used, there are new ways to communicate using social media and social media, what do I want to say, products, right? So if you are into social media marketing, you want to always keep your eye out for what the next new thing is. So, another key to success is research. You want to make sure you try a variety of social media sites and tools till you figure out what works best for you and your company. You want to create a seamless experience for customers all along the path to purchase, right? So, going back to integrated marketing communications, I don't think you take that as a graduate student. I'm sure you took it as an undergrad. Essentially, that you want to make sure that customers understand that you are consistent all the way from the path to purchase. It wants to be seamless. What you have online is what people see in the store. What you have that you're putting out on Twitter is what you honor when they get in the store, so on and so forth. Your advertising is seamless, right? You're not using 98 different taglines for different social media outlets or platforms. You're not like, oh, let's be authentic on Facebook, and then on Instagram you're like YOLO, this kind of thing. You want to make sure that you're staying consistent. You want to increase opportunities to digitally interact. And you want to do that by understanding more about the customer's paths to purchase, right? So if you understand that this person is more likely to go to Amazon before they come to Best Buy's, you know, um, site, then maybe that shows you that what you need to do is try to get your customers to avoid showrooming, and maybe that's where you need to be putting your dollars, right? Reaching out to those customers before they even try to check Amazon, right? You want to, I don't know, maybe reach out to them with a special coupon code, or just reach out to them to let them know that, you have more personalized service than Amazon, reaching out to them. You can do this a million different ways, but make sure that, you're doing it. And then you want to analyze and measure customer behavior or consumer behavior at all touch points to make sure that you're developing insightful understanding of what is driving choices and purchase decision, right? So what made your customer leave your website without buying anything, leave something in the cart without paying for it and having it shipped to them? What is making your customer look at your competitor first? Why are they turning to Amazon before they turn to you? These kind of things. You want to make sure you analyze and measure everything, so that because the more information you have, the better you will be at crafting strategy, crafting promotions, crafting a distribution channel. I like this social media strategy framework. This is a beta version. You One key to success is that you have to develop a strategy. What that strategy looks like is going to be dependent on you as a business, or your employer as a business. But there are certain things that should be in that strategy, right? You need to prioritize your objectives. You need to figure out how to make sure you're learning and how you're utilizing what you've learned, right? To do things like prioritize your objectives. You want to define certain activities of what you want to do. You want to develop capabilities. That's always very important, right? You want to identify what is it that you bring to the table. What is it that you maybe do better than your competitor? How do you stay abreast of kind of what's going on in the web, what's going on in life, and how you stack up and how you can help consumers as they deal with whatever's happening on the web or whatever's happening within their lives. You want to make sure you're engaging in conversation. This isn't new, and there are a lot of sub points that we can talk about for each one of these things. What I would say first and foremost, though, is make sure you think about what you want to include in your framework at its most base level, because you will always be adjusting. You will always be churning that out, right? So What are our capabilities? It's okay if you start and you have one capability, right? As you get further and further in the process, you will learn more capabilities, right? It's okay if you start off with Facebook advertising, and so all of your measurement is around Facebook advertising. Eventually, you'll branch out. You'll use other types of strategies to engage with your customers, and you will learn what those other ways, are other ways to measure and refine what you're doing as you move forward. So don't let kind of having a small strategy stop you from actually having a strategy. So if you are a, entrepreneur and you have a small business right now, you still need a strategy, right? Your strategy might not look like Walmart's strategy, but you need some kind of strategy. Remember, strategies give you a roadmap. It gives you a framework to figure out what you're doing and hopefully how you get from point A to point B so that you can continue down the road and then get to point C and so on and so forth. Along similar lines, you want to make sure that you have a plan, right? You need to identify people, your target market, your people who aren't buying your product, but you like to be buying your product, your competition. You want to make sure you understand that. You want to identify search engines that you might use, right? So if you want to go through Google and use Google AdWords, you want to make sure that you understand Google AdWords. Strategy, we talked about it. You need to know your opportunities. You need to know your objectives. You need to know your capabilities, your skills, right? Identify your internal resources, but also identify the gaps. What do you need help with? Is it sustainable to think that whatever those gaps are, you can close them on your own, or do you need to hire help to do that, right? You need to know how you're going to execute, right? So what tools do you need? What integration do you need? Do you need certain policies, right? And then how are you going to adapt, right? As you go through maintenance mode, how are you going to adapt? How are you going to build that strategy up? How are you going to build kind of your network of companies or competition up? How are you going to do these things? You need to be thinking about that. So you also need to be listening to the customer. The customer has to be at the heart of whatever it is you're doing. Social listening, which we define as analyzing conversations and trends happening around your brand, happening around your industry as a whole. Um, and then you can kind of find where your audience is participating as well and identify who are influencers that your audience is paying attention to. So, if you sell makeup, it could be that Kim Kardashian is an influencer, right? If you sell I don't know, if you sell clothing, it could be that Taylor Swift is a influencer, right? So why do you want to engage in social listening? Well, of course, you want to do some sentiment analysis, see how people feel about your product. Are they saying positive things? Are they saying negative things? What's happening? You can monitor your brand awareness. Are people aware of your brand? So if you were a fashion designer and you created your own tennis shoes, are people talking about your shoes when they talk about Nikes? Yes, no, well, that should say something. You want to be able to look at industry trends, so you social listen for this reason, competitor analysis, and then last but not least, crisis management. If something goes wrong with your brand or your company, you want to make sure you are listening online because this is the easiest way to nip it in the bud, right? It's to figure out what's going on fast. Things spread online really quickly, and so keeping your ear to the ground when it comes to social listening and online listening is very important for your brand. Another key to success is to be transparent. You need to own up to your mistakes and tell people how you're going to fix them. So if something happens, be honest about it, right? So, hey guys, listen, we did XYZ. We're going to fix this by doing one, two, three, right? You want to acknowledge and respond publicly to customer concerns or questions. You want to create trust in your brand. Is this a big deal? I would say so. When consumers were polled to say, kind of, who has a responsibility to be transparent when posting on social media, 81% of people said businesses have a responsibility, more so than politicians. That's wild to me. People believe that businesses should be have more of a responsibility than politicians when it comes to posting on social media. I think that says something pretty strong in terms of how much we as consumers expect companies to be transparent. Now, are companies living up to that? I think that's a different conversation, but just know that that consumers expect companies to be transparent. Topics that demonstrate a brand's transparency on social media: financial performance, business performance, political or social issues, marketing practices, manufacturing practices, admitting mistakes. These are things that customers want to see. Honest responses to customer questions. This is how you can demonstrate your transparency on social media. Another key to success is being personal. Personify your brand. We talked about brand personalities, I think, last week. You want to give people something they can relate to. You also want to get to know your followers. You want to start conversations with your customers. We see this happening with both large and small social media accounts, and social media companies. I shouldn't say companies, I should say social media advertisers, right? We see them getting to know their followers. We see Wendy's reaching out and saying, hey, Dave, yada, yada, yada. Or we see companies like Pepsi, for example, responding when customers contact them on social media. You want to be personable. You want to be relatable. Why do some companies not personalize their content? Some people don't have the technology to do so. So we can look at, I'll give you an example. Um, I'm sure if you're like me, you probably get a million emails from companies like Sephora or Nike or whoever. And some emails that you get maybe from smaller companies might say hello or all, whereas larger companies and more tech savvy companies are going to say Cassandra, right? They are going to identify me by name. I mean, think about it. You go to a hotel, and when you turn on the television, it says hello Cassandra. How cool is that? How many people still notice that? Whereas if you go to, a small place, you might not see something like that. Some companies don't have the bandwidth or resources to do this. Um, some companies might have tried, but it didn't work well. They think that content marketing is minor and that they don't have the need for it. I would argue that if you're trying to really sell or be successful on social media is all about the personal. So be personal. Things to think about when you're trying to have your brand voice on social media. What kind of language are you using? Or is it complex? Is it savvy? Is it simple? Who are you talking to? Do you have a persona or a character for your brand? Is your brand playful and friendly, or is it warm and professorial, right? Think about your tone. Is it personal? Is it honest? Is it direct? And then, last but not least, make sure you're thinking about your purpose. What is the purpose of what the brand communicates on social media? Is it to inform consumers? Is it to educate? Is it to sell? Is it to entertain? You need to figure these things out prior to kind of coming up with end all be all social media strategy for your brand or your product or your company. Another key to success, I would say, is knowing when to seek outside help. And in this case, I'm looking at social media influencers as a type of outside help, right? So it could be that you spend X number of dollars promoting your brand and you have people in house promoting your brand. But social influencers, social media influencers can be big business and they can be really helpful to help you promote your brand. Hence the fact that if you look at this, you see this climb, this growing increase in how much companies are spending on influencer marketing. They estimate that by 2023, about almost $5 billion will be spent on influencer marketing and influencer spending in general. That's a lot of money. And that number continues to grow up, or not grow up, continues to climb.